Okay. Hello? Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Yeah. Hello? Whoa, whoa. Hello, hello. Okay. So thank you for coming. Thanks, everybody, for coming. We're going to speak today about storage incentives. Whoa, super exciting. That's something I told my mother I speak about it every day. Thank you very much for coming here. Before we start, I want to ask you a question. It's just to test a little bit. How many of you know what the world computer is? All right. Well, that's all right. That's good. It's good. That's a very good question to test how long people have been in the game, because the world computer is what we used to call Web3 before the term was coined or invented. So it's a good thing to speak about it. The world computer. Can you pass it on? The world computer was this idea coined by the Ethereum founders about this decentralized, open computer, internet that will be borderless, permissionless, trustless. It's the idea of the Web3. It's pretty cool. And it had three components, which were Ethereum as the processor, as the CPU of this computer, messaging, and they call it Whisper, and storage. And Swarm was that storage. Are we there? How the Web3 is going? Is it working? Is the world computer here? Well, I think we are not, and I can give you a couple of examples. You just have to look to the news to see that that we are still not yet there. I'm not going to give names, but you all know what I'm talking about. The first one, we're forced to cut the community and to stop serving their community because they were not allowed to do it. So there were people wanted to use in the service, and they had to push them out. The second one, they are forcing them or pushing them to try to KYC everybody, KYC everyone, every transaction, every asset, everything that goes in that platform needs to be KYC'd, and this is completely mad. And the third one is it's a service quite polemic, and you all know that. Well, you all know that. I have to give you that it's a very controversial service, but they are being erased. They are being wiped out. So that's not very unstoppable, if you ask me. We're not yet there. Web3 is not yet there. There's still components missing. And basically, the problem, well, not to speak about data. If we speak about personal data, I'm not going to speak about personal data and how it's being co-opted by everybody, because it's, I look like a, I say it all the time to people who doesn't care. And I'm not going to speak about it, but it's the hardest of the problem. And this is happening because we don't own the full stack. All the services, all the applications that we have there, we always have missing that little piece. Well, that piece that is the storage, the hosting of the service. It's always in third parties. There's always somebody else who owns the thing. So how should it look like? It should look like, well, there are three components for a beautiful storage, for a beautiful host in a system. The first is that it should be super decentralized as possible, as many nodes as possible. And that means, if it's so decentralized, that the hardware needed to run the nodes shouldn't be very complicated. It shouldn't be a big machine. Something like a Raspberry Pi, something like that should be able to run the service. The second is that it should be self-sufficient. It's like having conscience. It has to be like, like Bitcoin does with difficulty. It needs to know how many computing power is in the network and adapt. The system not only has, this is a storage system, not only has to know how many capacity is on the system, it needs to know as well the demand and set a price for it. And on top of that, organize the resources and be able to route the information properly. So it's quite hard. This is quite hard as well. And the third component, it has to be zero. It has to have a zero cost of entry. And this is the most fun of the three ones, because a zero cost of entry. I give lectures once in a while to people who wants to learn about crypto. It's not that I know a lot, but I from people who have zero knowledge. No pun intended. And the thing is that they always ask me, okay, what is the the best exchange I can use to buy Bitcoin or to buy Ether. And I always tell them, don't buy Bitcoin or Ether. Earn them. Somehow, earn them. Give a service, give something. But the thing is that if you're into fitness and you give a service because you are giving classes and you receive Ether for that, well, you need to set up the company. It's a kind of a super KYC. But what service do we all need? And we can provide at home, and it's purely digital. That's the storage. So if you can, in your house, from zero, without buying anything, giving your credit card your name, put a computer and provide a service and be rewarded by it, well, it can create a snowball effect, because that's a need that everyone has. Zero cost of entry. That's very, very important. Are we there yet? Well, this is a path that has not been traveled. There are a lot of companies in decentralized storage scene, but it has not been solved yet, as I just told you before. It's not yet, and there are so many problems. It's super complex. I mean, you may think that Dropbox is easy. Well, you just put it there. The protocol is FTP. It's not that complicated, right? Well, decentralizing that is super complex because it's a promise that you give. So whenever you put a data and you'd say store it for some time, that time is not 15 seconds or 10 minutes. It's an unknown time. You don't know when you're going to take it back, so it's a promise. You need to create a contract between two parties, and they have to pay for that. And that price has to be escrowed. And you need to prove that you still hold the data, that you have not corrupted the data, that the data is relevant. Proof of. And if there's there's a lot of that on that level. As well, on the payment level, you have to create a whole payment system for everybody. So when the data travels, they get rewarded or they get paid for that. And not only that, so what happens if I put my data over there, I pay for this, and then the price moves a lot, then the data disappears. So I have to babysit the price as well. That's complicated. There's another feature that we think is super cool. It's called upload and disappear. And it's what Satoshi did, basically. But you can do it with decentralized storage. You go over there, you put a service in the cloud, and you just go away. And somebody else can fund the service and keep the service alive. Upload and disappear. And if you stop funding that, then the service goes away. I guess, well, we call it garbage collected. So the garbage man comes and takes the data out, because the data has to disappear eventually if nobody's interested into that. So all that is decentralized storage. It's so many there's so many problems that Swarm was incepted in 2015. It's been 7 years and around 30 iterations to solve that amount of problems. It's not an easy task. It's not an easy task at all. And, well, good news is we think we crack it. And here's the roadmap for it. We have split the development in five stages. The first one is the one we are at, actually. It's being rolled out. We call it phase 1 internally, but it's about knowing your neighbor, knowing what sort of, because in Swarm there's more than, the individual doesn't store the file on its own. It's a kind of a neighbor thing, so that you get the idea. So that's the first thing. The second one is the game. If you want to reward the nodes, you need to create a game. That's going to be it. The second phase that is going to be rolled out pretty soon. The third one is the Oracle. And this is super cool, because it's actually super smart. I didn't thought of it, of course. The Oracle, what it does, it sets the price. It knows the supply and the demand, and sets the appropriate price for storage. And how does it do it? And it works without a third-party intervention. How does it work? It's very smart, because when you want to play the game, you need to send signals to the market. And those signals are the signals that the Oracle reads to set the price. Right now, the price in Swarm is kept artificially low, and when the Oracle kicks in, well, he will decide the price. And the other two, it's about making the network more secure and having more avoid people free riding and gaming the system. So that's the roadmap. We are going to speak about phase 1 in a second. if you want to try it out, how it looks like, we have this app called Desktop app. And this app, well, you can download it in desktop at swarm.org. And what it does, it opens the window to see how this network goes. It's not a node. No, it's not, sorry. It's not a full node. It's an ultra-light node. And if you use the codes that are around those cards scattered around the place, you can make it a light node, meaning that you will be able to consult, to push, and to pull information from the Swarm network. Not a node, not a full node, but almost. And what sort of door does this desktop app opens? Well, it opens a door to the Swarm network, which is, and that's the final thought, it's a network that is supported by the users. We can store data. We can store images, GPGs or NFTs. That's the simple use case. But we can store something else. We already have blogs with Hugo and Forestry completely stored on Swarm. And that's just the beginning. We can store much more things. We can store full services over there. And if we are able to do it, we will be able to have services that are supported by its users completely, the full stack, including the hosting and all the information. And we can see things like Twitter being forked. That is something that I really, really would like to see. And well, and that's storage. But I'd like to have a look at this quote by one of the Swarm founders, because storage is much more important than we think. It's not just Dropbox. It's something else. It's about all us. It's something deeper. And it's very important that we create a system that lasts and supports all the information that humanity gathers. And that's it. I would like to invite you to try these applications out and help us bring the future a bit closer. Thank you. We will have the round of questions at the end of the presentations. Okay. So first, allow me to introduce you to Abel, who will speak about the phase 1. You remember the 5 phases? The phase 1.
Thank you so much. Such a high bar. Hello, I'm Abel. I'm a developer, and I don't usually talk to people as such, so it will be a one-time occasion. Thank you so much for the support. It really feels great. So I will talk about what we are trying, what we are implementing right now, and how it's going to work on a high level, so like a high-level technical overview. And can we go back to the forest picture? I really like the forest picture, so I would just, if you can. So we already have the Swarm network. It works. You can upload, you can download, and it consists of a lot of nodes that basically store the uploaded content and serve it back to you later on when you want to download it or somebody else wants to download it. And this is great for different reasons, because it's censorship-resistant and decentralized, and you can create dApps on it that have transparent logics and stuff. So actually, that's great, but there were some hard problems to solve along the way. One of these was, why are people going to run nodes? Because the utility is great, but if there's a high demand, a surge of demand, then maybe there will not be enough altruistic behaving people in the world to back that up. So we need incentives, and basically we have two kinds of demand surge problems. If there's a demand surge for downloading content, so a lot of people want to access something at the same time or something, and we have bandwidth incentives for this, and those are working for a year. It's an interesting topic, but for another occasion. And the other kind of demand surge that we can have is basically if more content wishes to be uploaded than the overall capacity of all the nodes. So we are solving the storage incentives now to basically create a network which, if receives more uploads than it could store, then degrades gracefully until a while, and while it is doing so, the incentivization system creates more node operators coming in because they want to make profit from the demand surge that creates extra profitability for those who are already involved. And we want to avoid disasters by this. And basically, how this incentive system going to work, we have like lots of nodes, and we were already talking about neighborhoods. So basically, every node has a 32-byte address, and at least 4 nodes constitute a neighborhood. A neighborhood is a group of nodes that basically store the same content redundantly. So if one of them leaves, the others still have the content. And how we are going to redistribute. So when people want to upload, they have to rent time and time space. So a specific size for a while. And when they do so, they actually make a transaction on the blockchain to buy this time space. And this creates a stockpile of deposited funds that are untouchable by anyone. That's what people deposit to be able to upload. And as time passes on, a part of this deposited stockpile of funds is basically already expired. So it's already used up, the content was being stored for a while, and now we can redistribute this part of the content, or the funds. And we want to redistribute it to the node operators. So the primary aim is to avoid redistributing to anybody who is not actually operating a node. And of course, people want money, so there's a high risk that people will try to get redistributed anyway. And the challenge of this is that there is a footprint from the uploaders on chain when they buy the time space, but the store nodes themselves have little to no on-chain footprint. So it's not so easy to tell who are the actual store nodes, but we have devised a way. So what we do is, like every 15 minutes, we start a redistribution round. And this redistribution round selects one neighborhood out of the many neighborhoods. Now, this neighborhood is playing. And basically, we are polling the habitants of this neighborhood, what is the actual content that is there. So they are basically reporting a fingerprint of the neighborhood's content. And if you have approximately the same content, you will come up with the same fingerprint. And then we basically have a signal of different nodes giving fingerprints. Now, if the fingerprints are the same, then they are storing the same data. If the fingerprints are different, then they are storing different data. And actually, there is little difference between the truth and something other than the truth. So, because all the content in the network also doesn't have an on-chain footprint, so telling apart these fingerprints is not so easy. So what we cannot do? We cannot select the most popular fingerprint, because you could make a Sybil attack and report the same fingerprint with many fake identities, for example. So that's not an option. And what we also cannot do is basically just select one absolutely randomly, because I mean, I know it sounds trivial that you cannot just select something random and say that that's the truth, but the problem with that would be that you could make also kind of a Sybil attack where you report many different fingerprints and hope to get lucky by having more fingerprints reported than the others, and then you have a higher chance if absolutely randomly one fingerprint is chosen. And what we devised is basically using staking to solve this and get around this. And if you have, so every node that contributes to the network needs to have a stake. And when a neighborhood is selected, all the different stakes in that neighborhood report some fingerprint, hopefully the same thing. And this, okay, so based on this, we can select one fingerprint probabilistically, proportionate to the sum of stakes that all report the same fingerprint is basically the fingerprint's winning chances. And in this way, it doesn't really matter if one fingerprint is reported by 10 nodes with 1 unit of stake each, or 1 node with 10 units of stake. Those both have the same winning chances, so it doesn't really make sense to have many identities, so one kind of Sybil attack is meaningless by this. And it also doesn't make sense to report many different fingerprints with 1 unit of stake each, because let's say 10 different fingerprints with 1 unit of stake collectively have the same chance of one of them winning as one fingerprint with 10 units of stake. So, so basically this kind of decreases the attack surface, but it's not enough in itself, of course, because you can still, try your luck and have some stake and just report some fingerprint or something. And that's not really great, so we want to introduce some risks to anyone trying to meddle with the thing. And this includes that, let's say that we expect that the honest nodes in the network are reporting the same fingerprint. And if somebody is reporting another fingerprint, then basically that's a different version of reality. And if one of those versions of reality is selected as the truth, then whoever was reporting another version of reality gets some punishment, basically have their stakes frozen for a while, or even removed. So this creates a disincentive for meddling. And after that, what we can also do is basically add validatory features that make it very hard to create a fingerprint that is not based on actual data that is on the network. And this is what we are going to do in phase 4 and 5. And in between, like phase 2, where we have fingerprints but no validatory features yet. And in between 4 and 5, when we add validatory features, there is this price oracle, which basically is looking at the signal of how many nodes are reporting the same fingerprint in each round. Because if not many, then it means that the neighborhood that is playing doesn't have many inhabitants. We probably should increase the price because we need more nodes to have more redundancy and to have a more safer, reliable network. And if too many nodes are reporting the same fingerprint, it means that we have basically too many nodes, not much demand. Maybe we should decrease the price because maybe more people would buy data if it wasn't so expensive as it's probably got by now. So this price oracle in phase 3 that Antonio mentioned is actually going to take care of adjusting the prices based on the actual signal that we read from the network. Thank you very much for your attention. I think that's all I could or wanted to say. And I will give the mic to Costanza, who is going to talk about other possibilities in connection with the network. Thank you.
Thank you. And so, thank you so much. So now we saw what you can do with Worm, and now we're going to see one of the main use cases where an unstoppable storage like Worm can actually make the difference. In fact, let me ask you a question. How many of you have used Wikipedia in your life? Don't be shy, raise your hands. Yeah, super cool. Now, what do people in China, France, Venezuela, and the UK have in common? Does anybody know that? You do. Well, answer is that they all at some point had internet transferred and couldn't access Wikipedia. Actually, the list of countries that transfer Wikipedia is way, way longer. You can find an article on Wikipedia censorship. So if you want to have some fun, go there and check it. And this is why we're here today. We're here to make Wikipedia free. Free as in free software, free as in free beer that I hope you're enjoying, and free as in free human beings. And we're going to see 4 things. First of all, how Wikipedia gets transferred. Then how some people are overcoming Wikipedia censorship, and the swarm on Wikipedia Prize, and long-term plans to make unstoppable Wikipedia actually reality. So there is 2 components of censorship. One that we became very familiar with, unfortunately, in the past month. That is the human component of censorship. And in France, for example, it started in 2013, where the France Intelligence Agency, the equivalent of the CIA, summoned a Wikipedia volunteer and told him, pressured him, threatened him to delete an article on Wikipedia. Now, he had no idea about the article. He wasn't the writer. He had never edited it. He didn't even know about the article. Why they chose him? Because he was a very well-known member of the community. And that's the only reason why he was being threatened to get in jail, or I don't know. So now, there is a plot twist because censorship doesn't work. And a Wikipedia volunteer from outside of France, from very far away, Switzerland, decided to reinstate the article. And since karma always pays back, that article became the most read article in the entire Wikipedia. So Wikipedia 1, censorship 0. Now, the second component, which is the technical one, which is the one we are most familiar with. Back to a few years ago, Wikipedia was on the HTTP protocol. So that means that censor could actually target a Wikipedia voice and just take that voice down without touching the entire Wikipedia. Now, what is worrisome is that that was done not only by governments, but also by private entities like ISP providers. So yeah, private entities could decide what you could or could not read. And that changed when Wikipedia finally moved to HTTPS. So today, if they want to transfer Wikipedia, they have to transfer it all or not at all. So that is bringing something else. But then, of course, the human censorship, threatening people is something that it is still being done. And it's like on the newspapers, every couple of weeks, there are threats. So what can people do to overcome censorships? A very cool solution was developed by KWix, a no-profit entity based in Switzerland, and they're doing an amazing job. People over there are really like freedom of information fighters. And it is a protocol that lets you store offline websites. So you just download Wikipedia on your laptop, on a pen, on your phone if you have enough space. And that's it. Now, it is like super cool, an amazing thing, but first of all, you need to have good enough internet connection to download the entire Wikipedia. You can't download an article. You need to have enough space on your device. And if you downloaded it 2 months ago, then today, I'm sorry, but that's old news. The world goes too fast. So what if there was a way to make Wikipedia truly unstoppable? And that is what we're doing with Worm. If you have any technical questions, ask him, because I'm not that technical, so he's your guy. So Worm is a decentralized storage. We saw everything before. And we did the prize, Wikipedia on Swarm, to bring an asynchronous copy of Wikipedia on Swarm, making it in that way unstoppable. And that's amazing. And this is what we're working on right now, especially because now Wikipedia is on 6 data centers that belong to private entity, like Equinox, and I don't remember the others, between the US, Europe, and Singapore. halal, like still centralized entities, so it's very easy to actually stop them. So what we're doing here is trying to decentralize it and to make it unstoppable. But it is still an asynchronous copy. Now, what it takes to make it truly censorship resistant. My personal dream, / goal, / please let my imagination run wild, is in maybe like 5 years, I don't know, maybe less, maybe more, trying to convince the Wikimedia Foundation to actually have not just an asynchronous copy of Wikimedia on Swarm, but the entire production environment on Swarm. Because in that way, it will become truly censorship resistant. There will be no way of stopping that, and that would be amazing. And there is a second point, because something like that, it is less expensive than traditional data centers, yes, but still requires money. And to be truly decentralized, to be truly censorship resistant, it can rely upon funding from a single entity like the Swarm Association. We are super happy today to start this thing, but to make it truly resilient, it can rely on us only. So what I would like to do, and bear with me and come talk to me if it's something that you want to be engaged with, is to launch a Wikipedia DAO so that we can decentralize funding, we can decentralize governance, and we can make Wikipedia truly and long-term censorship resistant. So that's all for now, and thank you. If you have any questions, we're gonna take them all here. Matthias.
Oh, yes. Okay, hello. Hello, my name is Matthias. Going back to your mentioning with, I think it's Abel, is it? Yes? You were mentioning around if you have like a malicious actor, and you were saying that maybe they could have their funds frozen for a little bit, or maybe punished in another way. How is this different from like slashing with proof of stake Ethereum? And have you thought about this when you've come up for an approach for punishment?
So I think we have a very simple system. And maybe it's because we have to make this like very realistic to have. I don't think we got to that level of sophistication. So I think this is something more primitive, but hopefully good enough. If I didn't answer your question, that's like my fault. Maybe I'm not able to. Okay. Thanks.
Could I? Okay. I first heard about the World Computer very long time ago. No, you don't have to move. Very long time ago, but I recall it from Stefan Tual in Stockholm, even before Ethereum started. But anyway, you know, there are some issues, and you, Abel, you told me, and actually this element of punishing nodes brought my attention as well. Why? Because, you know, I can imagine, I don't know yet how, but probably I would find out, to make a malicious attack by sparking a wave of nodes that disagree, that you must punish. And of course, I will pay for it. But if I have enough funds, I can disturb the network in some way, or push it into a state that allows for some malicious actions. How about that? And I also have another question, but yeah.
Yes, so I was mentioning validatory features, and before we will have validatory features, we are going to go for less severe punishments. So shorter freezes, no slashing probably, because we are also aware of that possibility. And when we have validatory features, it will be much harder to mess with the whole thing. So basically, the harder it is to like inject interference, the more strict we can be. And until then, it would be not so responsible to create harsh conditions when honest nodes might be, well.
Yeah, I know. I understand. Yeah, I understand the balance that you need to reach, and yes, it's a good approach. Not yet sure about what will be the outcome, but yes, I agree. But this is surprisingly related to your. Sorry, I don't remember your name.
Antonio.
Antonio.
Yeah.
Antonio, you said about KYC, and actually, in my opinion, it's not a matter of popularization or something. The actual problem is in mentality of people. People need to know some credentials. And actually, it's related to validation and something. It's not about credentials here, but about hash, right? But anyway, this is the main issue with the world computer. The idea that I love, that people inherently, intrinsically, need to know whom they interact with. And don't you think that that's the main barrier from philosophical point of view here? Because you just passed the, you just passed this point. Yeah, KYC. No, nothing else. But I constantly hear, and I'm involved in some groups, working groups, blah blah blah, that want more and more KYC. How would it actually impact the project? I love this project actually.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. It's a very, very interesting one. Well, I passed over KYC basically because the KYC I was referring to is the KYC you all know. Here's your identity card, flash, which is something that it's not exactly very, very aligned with the principles. But there are some other ways to, I agree that there's a problem of identity, and that problem could be solved in several ways. I would say, that's my taking, okay? That reputational could be a good way to solve this identity. You don't need to know who is the guy. Actually, I took it from a TED talk. A guy was saying that he went to the deep web to buy some marijuana, and sorry, that automatically Google just turned down the video. Anyway, the thing is that he said that when he was buying that, and he was buying 1 gram, which is like nothing, and somebody told me, and the guy said, the customer service I received was the best ever, because I cannot tell who the guy was, and he was not going to reveal his identity, but the customer service needs to be good, so his stars go up, so the reputation is higher. So that solution, that could help somehow to get that identity. It's a reputational thing more than this is my name, this is the state where I live, and this is the address that I have.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I agree. But the point is, that we understand this because we live in this world of crypto, and generally we agree with that. There can be other KYC, but the problem is with white public. And this starts to be an issue because the white public needs regulation, proper KYC, and so on and so on. Yes, but this starts to be an issue, and how your project would like to deal with that?
My project, well, our project. Yeah. Not sure how we dealt with identity from a technical perspective. Abel, do you have any insights about this?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
point is that you would like to punish and reward people, yeah, right? And all is okay until we play within the digital world without passing the border of an interface between the real world, as we know it, and the digital one. But as soon as we pass the border between those two worlds, there are people who would like more strict control, more strict regulation, and exactly, you know, this also touches your speech about censorship. More censorship, because, you know, it's not nice if everyone could edit it, right? So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with checking those notes for who they are or not?
I will add that we promote privacy. We like to be anonymous, but we try to help you to be prepared for the world, to normies.
Yes, so I think the straightforward answer is that personally I don't deal with these problems. So what we are creating are primitives that as a technology create possibilities and basically change the playing field. So that's our aim. And like this is a bit off outside my like the problems I deal with, because yeah. So
actually, you touched the idea of KYC. That's why I started digging in. There is no good answer actually for KYC in the world of crypto. And it's a never-ending story with many regulators now jumping on the wagon and trying to push something quite absurd. So.
I'll take it a step further, and I'm trying to make the case why that is not necessary. So maybe just kill me if I'm saying something I feel not. So why do you need that? Do you need that because you need to make sure that, for example, if you're having Wikipedia in a country where Wikipedia is banned and you're hosting a node, then you want to make sure that you're not illegally implied. So what happens with Worm is that if I'm hosting a file, I'm hosting Wikipedia, and you all are the nodes, that file gets divided into small chunks, very, very small chunks. So you only have 4 kilobyte chunks, and there is no way that with that you can reconstruct the file. So you, as a B provider, are protected by the plausible deniability. So in that way, you are safe.
Mm-hmm. I remember Napster. Is there anyone who remembers Napster here?
I'm too young.
Yeah. Okay. Do you remember, guys?
Yeah.
And of course, in countries like Venezuela, it will work because they have no authority over the infrastructure, but there are countries that may have means and funds and equipment and stuff to actually kill the idea and suffocate it. So that's an issue actually. I'm just raising a point.
Yeah.
And don't want to scare you, and you are doing a great job. But because you mentioned this KYC, I'm just mentioning this one. Okay, sorry, I'm no longer holding the microphone because.
Next time, make sure we invite a lawyer to the meetup.
So sometimes I think about this as well, and I just wanted to say that as long as there is one country that doesn't try to take everybody down, it's fine, because the node operators are running software, there is a smart contract, so as long as the blockchain is not illegal to for the blockchain to exist, I think we should be fine. as long as there is also another country that doesn't hunt down node operators. When we are past that point, then yeah, then we are as a species.
So if I can add something, I think, first of all, KYC is not a solution straight away, right? If we're going to KYC everybody, then we lost privacy and it doesn't make sense. That's one. The whole point of decentralization is that even if one or a few governments go after us, right? Sure, we can comply and switch off the nodes, but then the other countries still can hold that data and share it with everybody. So I think that's the key point. And obviously we have to remember that there's solutions like Tor, right? There's other ways. And even if you've mentioned Napster and failed projects like that, we have to remember that pirate buy still exists, right? So I think it's very important that we avoid KYC, we keep as much privacy as we can, and yeah, I think if we lose that, we lost the fight.
And that's why it's very important that we have very good lawyers making sure that they're fighting the fight.
All right, so that was it. Let's go for the pizzas and the beers. Thank you so much.